What's up, everybody? Fred Richani of TSC News here to recap UFC 196, McGregor versus Diaz. I am re-releasing this recap because we actually had some technical difficulties with the previous one with audio, so my apologies there. But this was a night of upsets. Holy doodle squat. At first, I thought, man, am I really going to get my money's worth with this card before the main event? And whew, I did with the co-main event, which saw Miesha Tate submit Holly Holm in round number 5. You got to believe that it was going to lead to a draw, or that Miesha Tate was down in the scorecards leading into round number 5. The only really good round she has is round number 2, where she took Holm down and almost finished her, ironically via rear naked choke. And in round number 5, she just had the heart of a champion, took down the champ, locked in the rear naked choke. Holly Holm tried to flip her over, didn't work. Miesha Tate got the submission win, choking out Holly Holm, coming off of that Rousey upset in round number 5. Miesha Tate, your new women's bantamweight champion, and I got to say, for those saying, it's bad for business, no, what happened in the main event might be bad for business. Well, probably definitely is bad for business. What happened in the co-main event? No, because you got Tate versus Rousey 3, money. You got Holm versus Miesha Tate 2, possibly some money. And you got Holm versus Rousey 2, which is also money, no matter if there's a belt on the line or not. Anyway, congrats, Miesha Tate. We had Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz, of course, in our main event. And oh boy, Dana White's going to have a few sleepless nights because Conor McGregor, his cash cow, got rocked at the end of round number 1, got rocked and dropped in round number 2. Nate Diaz got him down, mounted him, took his back, submitted him via rear naked choke. A guy who was 5-5 his last 10 fights, I believe. A guy who had been counted out coming in on 11 days' notice after Rafael dos Anjos broke his foot. And look, I never discounted Nate Diaz. You can never count out a Diaz brother, but he did have an uphill battle, even if this fight was 2 weight classes up from Conor's usual weight class at 170 pounds. But my God, he weathered the storm. He got bloodied up in round number 1. He got tagged. He got rocked a bit, but he came back and he beat Conor McGregor and temporarily, I don't think permanently, but temporarily derailed the McGregor hype train. And now the big questions are, where does McGregor go from here? Where does Diaz go from here? First off, with Diaz, I think you need to reward this guy with the title shot. He came in on 11 days' notice. He just beat your cash cow. And while he's not as marketable as Conor McGregor, he's marketable in his own way, similar to Nick Diaz, okay, his brother. These guys, it's not a gimmick with them. They're just them. And them being themselves just totally makes them popular and beloved or hated by many MMA fans and has for many years. And now that Nate has finally won kind of like the big one, definitely the biggest win of his career, probably got the biggest payoff of his career. Actually, I'm sure he got the biggest payoff of his career. I mean, now's the time. Put him in a title match. RDA versus Nate Diaz, I don't know. That might be a tough sell. Nate Diaz versus Robbie Lawler? Holy hell, would that be a buffet of violence? I would love to see that. As for McGregor, he is still the featherweight champion. You could do McGregor versus Rafael dos Anjos. You could do McGregor versus Edgar or Aldo in a rematch. The problem is this. One, we don't know how McGregor's going to respond to this loss. 2, we don't know if McGregor's going to even cut down to 145 again. He all but said, hey, man, not really feeling this weight cut anymore. And if you look at the weight cut he had for this fight, or lack thereof, and you look at the past weight cuts at 145 pounds, I mean, it's night and day. He looked like a freaking skeleton at 145 pounds. Successful, but he looked damn drawn out and at times highly unhealthy. So is he going to make the cut at least one more time and go up against Edgar or Aldo? Or is he going to go up at 155 and take on Rafael dos Anjos? And by the way, I still think that's a more marketable fight than anything he could do at lightweight. Even Nate Diaz versus RDA. We'll see. We will find out. But overall, this was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The two main events definitely saved the pay-per-view main card because leading into the co-main event, it wasn't so hot. I mean, Tom Lawler lost to Corey Anderson via unanimous decision. That fight could have gone either way. Only thing I disagree with is that it should have been 29-28 for either guy as opposed to two 30-27s. I thought that was preposterous. Amanda Nunes beat Valentina Shevchenko. Decent fight. Went to decision. We had Ilir Latifi suplex the hell out of Jean Vellante for a unanimous decision win. And in the prelims, which were pretty good, we had Sayar Bahar Derzada, defeating Brandon Thatch via arm triangle choke in round number 3. Nordin Taleb beat Eric Silva via knockout in round number 2. Kind of a mild upset right there. And we had Diego Sanchez defeating Jim Miller, the battle of tough UFC veterans. He beat Jim Miller via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. So overall, a fun night of fights. Probably not fun for Dana White's checkbook. Probably not fun for Lorenzo Fertitta. Definitely not fun for Holly Holm and Conor McGregor. But hey, congrats to Nate Diaz. Congrats to Miesha Tate. And look, Conor McGregor stepped up to the plate, busted his ass. You could say Conor's cocky or whatever, but guess what? The reason people bought the fight is because of his mouth and his gift of gab. So look, whether it's an act, whether you think it's his real personality and you think he's a douchebag, whatever. At the end of the day, the guy draws eyeballs, and you got to give him props for going up in weight, and you got to give him props for putting this fight on that pedestal. Holly Holm, she's a great champion. She'll be back. Let's see what happens. Folks, I want to hear from you, though. What do you think about UFC 196? What do you think about the aftermath? Are you excited for the plethora of rematches we're about to get between Jones versus Cormier 2 next month, plus Rockhold versus Weidman 2? I'm probably forgetting another one. Oh, yeah. Dominic Cruz versus Uriah Faber 3. Holy doodle squat. Claudia Gadelha versus Joanna Jacek. I mean, my God. Cejudo versus Demetrius Johnson. We got some kick-ass title fights lined up. We also have, I believe, Wonderboy Thompson versus Rory McDonald. Whew. Look, this might be a bad night for the UFC, but if the cards fall into place, look, you can market Nate Diaz for a welterweight title fight, and that could drum up some interest. Conor McGregor, if he bounces back here, successfully defends his title, maybe goes up to 155 and wins that title, he'll be all right. One loss doesn't kill you. Just ask Chael Sonnen. But folks, let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Tweet us. Facebook us. Do what you got to do. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the fights.